Okay, so first go through and label your markets. And we don't have to have y-intercepts for our supply and demand, but do price, quantity, supply, demand, equilibrium, price, and quantity, just as it says in the instructions up above. All right. A little bit behind you, I'll catch up. So read over what takes place and all the A, B, and or 1I, 2I, 3I up in bold up at the top. That one of those things is telling you something that's going to shift the supply curve. One of them is telling you something that's going to shift the demand curve. And one of them is telling you which curve is greater in that first market. So first look that over and figure out which is the supply change, which is the demand change, what determinants those represent, which way they'd shift those curves. Maybe go back and look at your list of determinants for supply and demand and make sure that you're drawing all the points that I'm drawing here for equilibrium in each model and labeling each of the curves and axes. All right, so which is the explanation for demand change? What are those three things in bold up at the top? What do you see there? 2. So the average American consumer becomes aware of the negative effects of pollution and change their buying habits accordingly. So that's demand. What determinant is that? Yeah, I think tastes, and tastes have improved or declined. Yeah, tastes have gone away from this product. So this is easy. We can just draw a down arrow. You need to write me a sentence there and put taste. There are less tastes for this product. But don't draw a demand curve shift yet. Now the supply change. Obviously the other one, right? Because one's for supply, one's for demand. Government increases regulations requiring gas-powered cars to get better fuel economy. What's that going to do? Well, I think there's an easier one. And the cost of inputs could increase. You could say that, and that's correct. But there's an easier one. Yeah, an increase in regulation. So let's do that one. So here we have an increase in regulations. We can just do regs and an up arrow. I mean, regulations, remember, Aiden, all the supply determinants around costs, right? And anytime your costs go up, the supply curve moves in. So price of inputs, regulations, all those amount to costs or time. So they both shifted in. And so notice what it says here, and the third one here, that the supply change will be greater in magnitude than the demand shift. So with higher regs, supply shifts left. With less taste, demand shifts left, but we're going to make the supply shift a larger shift. So watch, just watch, I'm going to kind of exaggerate this supply shift right here. And the demand shift, notice I'm going to do a lot shorter. You get what I mean there? By looking at those shifts, demand has gone in by a tiny amount, supply has gone in by more, because it says right here, the supply change will be larger in magnitude than the demand change. So just label those now, S2, and D2. Now show your new equilibrium on the new curves. Actually, I'm going to go back and do those curves in a different color so it's a little more obvious here. So our supply shifted far in. Come on, man. Make sure you're showing that new equilibrium along your new curves, along these two curves here. So we have, there's our price, there's our quantity. Then P2 and Q2. Now you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things to circle. 3 choices in each. Did demand shift in or out, or was there no change? Did supply shift in or out, or was there no change? What happened to the price? And then what happened to the quantity supplied and quantity demanded? There are 2 changes. Take a look here real quick. Just let me show you. So we had 1 shift in demand inward along a supply curve there. And then we had another shift inward on a demand curve there. This tells you your quantity changes. Circle what where appropriate. When you're done, show each other your answers. See if everyone's on the same page here, especially on the quantity changes. I'm going to draw this market larger so I can make it a little bit more apparent. So look along which curve your quantity changed, and we're looking along, not notice how quantity changed here along a supply curve and then changed here along a demand curve. When we're measuring quantity, where are we measuring? Along the y-axis or along the x-axis? X. So notice here, this one, it looks like it's going up, but it's really going in, right? It's going in on the x-axis. So here supply is decreasing, even though it's going up, because we're measuring the quantity here along the x-axis. So this is a decrease and that's a decrease, not because they're going up or down, but because they're moving in along the x-axis. That makes sense? Since here along the x-axis, we're measuring quantity. So movement that direction is a movement inward towards 0. All right, so demand, what happened? What did you circle? And supply. And the price overall, what do you show here? Up. And like I say, each day we're doing this, and hopefully we're getting better and better at this. Notice our what curve is that? Demand went in, and our quantity changed inwardly along a supply curve. What happened to quantity supplied? Oh, I like the sound of that. Notice here, our supply curve is shifted in, causing the quantity along our demand curve to go in. Quantity demanded has gone. Love the sound of that. Okay, if you're not there, part of chiming in, we're going to get there. Right, this is a tough thing. Remember, I didn't get it the first time either. I don't think I got it all semester, and I'm a better teacher than I was taught, by whom I was taught, even though I like the guy. All right, next, these two things, gas-powered cars and bicycles, are substitutes. Did I tell you that on this? Remember my story about how previous class argued with me about cookies and milk? So no more arguing. I'm going to tell you what's complements, what's substitutes. And it was good-natured arguing, not a big deal. So notice these are substitutes. There's a number of things you could do here. What might you do here? What's going to happen in the market for bicycles? Demand will go out. Why, though? So what's our determinant for that? If the substitute's more expensive. Increased price of a substitute. Taste, could he be right here? American consumer becomes aware of the negative effects of pollution. Demand goes down due to lower tastes for things that, or I'd say this, demand goes up because there's taste for things that are environmentally friendly. Yeah. So always, and this is how your test question is going to be structured. You're going to have three things that modify your first market. All right, so notice all three of these things modify this market. And then here, you can go on whatever logic you have. So you have the logic of what I set up here, or you could simply say demand has increased. That's not a line, that's a circle. Demand has increased because of an increased price of a substitute good. So you have two right answers here. You have to pick one on your test. You don't get to write down a bunch of different answers. So I see either demand is increased because of increased taste due to people being aware of the negative effects of pollution, or increased demand because of an increased price of a substitute good. Let's write that one. So let's do increase price of substitute. But you get me, there are multiple right answers here. You could even make an argument. If you want to really make me work as I grade things, you could say supply increases. Why? For bicycles. So what determinant is that? Expectations that, yeah, boom, supply could shift too. Right? We're doing simple analysis here. In any market, you've got all kinds of shifts taking place. So a supply shift would be correct as well. I'm just showing you here, always I'm going to have two products that are substitutes, two products that are complements. So the easy way to do this is just use this formula. Well, that one went up. This is its substitute. And if there's an increased price of a substitute, if gas-powered cars are $1 trillion now, remember the exaggeration, of course, demand for its substitute bicycles will go up. So let's draw the new equilibrium points, and let's circle our appropriate places down below. So our demand curve has gone out. Our supply curve, has it shifted? No, so that's a no change. Our price has gone up. And now because there's only one shift, the quantity changed only along one curve. For the next two, quantity supplied and quantity demanded, one of those is going to be no change. The other, if quantity went this way, outward, quantity did what? Yeah, quantity increased. Now notice, look up here, especially if you're still struggling with this. We started here at this equilibrium point. When demand increased because of the higher price, suppliers are willing to supply a greater quantity. Therefore, our quantity change is quantity supplied, what? Oh, good. And was there a shift in quantity along a demand curve? No. So here is no change. All right, here's how I'm going to grade your notes in part. Do this last one, but make it make sense. Now, let me help you out. Gas and cars, gas-powered cars are complements. So you could use increased price of a complement. You could also use anything else that comes to your mind that makes analytic sense, given all our determinants. So feel free to help each other out, but I'm going to grade on correctness. So work together if you trust the people around you. Maybe bounce your ideas off of others, even if you don't trust them. An online class, do the same. Please finish this up using all the knowledge you've got so far on supply and demand and the determinants.